In this lecture, we actually talk about product return management. This topic is insisted by Sasha. We also think it is closely related to waste management. So in this topic, we have actually two different ways to look into product management. First, we do the conceptual analysis or qualitative discussion. In the second part or in the end of the lecture, we actually do a computer simulation and see how the customer returns will affect the business performance. So this is the first part of the video. We mainly focus on the qualitative part. So before the lecture, I actually suggest you browse the article about managing opportunistic consumer returns in retailer operations, which is a rather new article from Management Science. However, the paper may be also too technical, so focus on the conceptual content. This is the agenda for this lecture. First, we introduce what is reverse logistics. Then we talk about the product return management process, and with the focus on the time value of the product returns. And then we address the principles to estimate or predict product returns. And then we look into the impact of product returns on stock control. So learning objectives: understand the product return management process, and then understand the types of different returns, and then the handling of production returns method, and understand the time value of product returns, be able to estimate product returns, be able to analyze the impact of product returns to stock control. So the product returns can be classified into different categories. So first, let's see, we have the return of defective recycled products. That's easy to understand. So if you bought the product which is damaged, you can definitely send it back. And then return of an MRO. MRO is a maintenance, repair, or overhaul product. It's mainly for the product manufacturers. In retailer, this type includes the high-value items needing repair or periodic maintenance. For example, the appliances, or for the automobiles, computers. But actually, it's still rather uncommon for retailers to handle these services. And then we have the return of excess product. So it's normally unsold, obsolete products. That's actually common for retailers. So if you overstocked, then you face to the situation need to be returned or disposed or salvaged the item. And then we have the last class. It's called convenience returns. This actually become a more and more commonly see situation, especially for online retailers, or we call it e-retailers. A typical phenomenon is consumers buy multiple units of same or identical products with different sizes, and then they try it afterwards. They only keep the one fits the best and return the rest. This can be also in other situations. In order to handle the product returns, then the logistics process actually needs to go the backward. In this direction, we call it reverse logistics. So if you understand the forward logistics, then the product is made and delivered to the warehouse, and from warehouse to the supermarkets, and from supermarkets to the customers, and so on. And then the reverse logistics you can see mainly show in the dashed arrows. So the customers or end users actually send the product back to your supply chain to the different stages. For example, you can customers can return the product back to the stores. So go this direction, back to stores, and then you can send it back to dealers, and then customers can also send the item to the distributor or even to the manufacturer. So this actually can be seen for different types of products. And then you can also see if the customers send the product back to the store, the store actually needs to continue to send the item back to distributor, or from distributor maybe need to be to send back to OEM, original equipment manufacturer, or even further back to the supplier, if this is about a specific component. So you can see this reverse logistics make the original process actually very complicated. In this graph, we also show something here. You can see this is a reverse warehouse or storage locations. Customers can all send the item back to a specific location, and this location will process the product returns. So this is a typical reverse logistics process. Then before we further talk about how to handle returns, we can also see what reasons actually these returns are generated. So we name it as a consumer returns. So when customers know that they can get their money back just as easily as they can spend it, they will just shop with more confidence and spend more. This actually lead to the common practice for most retailers now. They offer free delivery. Of course, normally is with a threshold of spending. So, for example, for the boots, they have a $4.99 free delivery, and Zalando has a lower free delivery value. And different companies have different values. When I bought books in Gukka actually has over 10,000 Danish kroners for a free delivery. And these free deliveries normally can lead to higher sales. Here we see higher sales leads to higher returns. Higher return rates also actually cause higher return handling costs, loss of sales, and even overstock. So better management can actually reduce the cost and improve consumer loyalty at the same time. And actually, you read the article, there is actually a common sense. So higher return is not a bad thing for your company. That actually means that there are also more customers buy your product. So in order to predict the returns or can have a proactive actions to control or to handle the product returns, then we need to estimate consumer returns. If you think about this similar with demand forecasting, then that's basically the reverse demand forecasting, so product return estimation. So what is an e-commerce return rate? So e-commerce return rates are presented as a percentage of the total number of products sold within a specific time frame. So we have a couple of examples here. You can see if you sold 15,000 units within 6 months at a 5,000 units return, your return rate will be 33%. So straightforward. If we continue with the above example with 5,000 returned units and 1,000 refunds, the refund rate will be expressed like 20% over the returned. And then we have an example with 500 returned units and 5,000 returned units and 5,000 exchanges. The exchange rate will be 80%. Then we can see these numbers shows the different actions or frequencies of the processing of the product returns in your company. That actually should all be considered: overall return rate, and refund rate, and exchange rate. So we can just mark out. We actually suggest to calculate return rate and also the refund rate, and also we interested in the exchange rate. And although we tried to estimate the e-commerce return rate, actually we also know the rate of online rates actually can be very differently from across different industries, across different type of products or different retailers. So it's important to actually situate the return rate statistics in the context of consumer behavior, and also suited your return management strategies by understanding why returns are happening. Here there are some statistics about the average return rates across different product categories. So this is made from different retailers, but the statistics only consider the different types of items or product categories. Now you can see the percentage of US consumers who return a product in the category in the last 12 months. So for clothing, there are 45%. For electronics, it's 25%. For footwear, it's 15%. For health product, it's probably 12.5%. And then DIY product, food, and furniture, appliances, and rest have a relatively low return rate. Now you can see for electronics and clothing, actually have really high return rates. So in the Nova Consumer, Nova Consumer Report 2019, you can see the top reasons for returns. So here we have different reasons listed. That's also actually, if you have ever returned a product, you probably also experienced you need to check why you would like to return this product. So you could actually ignore that, but I always do that. So here you can see the top reason is the size, fit, and the color was wrong. So it's mainly actually from the electronics or the clothes. And the item was damaged, broken, or no longer functional. So that's maybe due to transportation or manufacturing reasons or whatsoever reasons. So the product was as depicted in its description or product photo. So basically you're not satisfied with this product. Then you can think, well, I just didn't like it, I changed my mind. So that's actually rather general return policy. So the package didn't arrive in time or delayed transportation. I intended to return when I purchased. So this actually, the last one is called opportunistic return. Even if I do that, probably I do not claim that. So this number actually is questionable. However, this gives you an overall picture and see that some main reasons or the top reasons for customers to return their products. We started product return because we would like to actually control or reduce the product returns. So here let's see the areas to look into in order to reduce your returns. So we can making it easy for customers to make exchanges, and then you can actually reduce the refund rates. Or adding comprehensive product descriptions and high quality product photos to your product pages. Sometimes we also talking about digital fitting, ensuring that products are being packed securely. So that's a logistic challenge. So packaging product well, offering both standard and expanded shipping options. That's always the common practice for almost all the retailers. So you can do a free shipping. You can also choose the express shipping with the kind of fee, creating an easy to understand return policy, and then proactively engaging with customers about their shopping experience. So the cost to process returns or to handle returns actually is quite complicated. We can see on the On the right hand side of this slide, so these are the several general costs we can explore. So I have a processing costs, so it's including register to the system and then all the different players in this logistics process need to process documents and so on, process information and so on. And then there are restocking costs, so need to put this product, repackage that or something and put back to the sales warehouse or storage. And then there are labor costs, there are packaging and shipping costs, there are lots of profit margin. So these are the main costs. In the e-commerce, there are actually also some investigation shows the drivers of this cost. You can see the 72% of customers expect a refund within 5 days of return, and 69% do not want to pay for return shipping or packaging. 8 out of 10 will check a return policy before purchasing, and 52% have abandoned an online purchase due to fears of a difficult return process. Myself as a consumer, at least for me, this is all very important. So if I cannot refund or return the product for free, then I actually hesitate to place an order. That's because there's a very high risk of this product that not really fits to my requirements. Now 40% of retailers have responded by relaxing their returns policy and turn free return shipping into a standard offering. Even if for the shipping policy or the delivering policy, you can give a threshold, but for return, normally there is no any threshold. So with peak season surcharges by major carriers, this is adding significantly to retailers' return costs. And this is in general also because logistics cost is a significant part of the distribution cost of the product. So this should be actually seriously considered, especially now when more and more consumers buy online. Even if they buy a large quantity, but they still have the opportunity to return some of the products. It still requires the same return costs. We have actually talked about what areas you should look into in order to reduce returns. However, it doesn't mean return actually is a negative sign of your business. So here we talk about how should returns be handled. First, very important, this is hopefully change your opinion about returns. So the return rate should never be taken as a reflection of the health of your business. Having a high return and exchange rate indicates a positive return experience. So it shows that you are maximizing revenue opportunities, so maximizing your revenue opportunities and creating happy customers. At least you can recall yourself your purchasing experiences. I often buy products from Amazon, from Boots, Zalando, or even Coupa, or selling.dk, and I buy. I'm a very frequent online buyers. So I also have like tons of many return experiences. So in each season, if I buy 10 clothes, quite likely I need to return 2 or 3 of them. So that's very common in my purchasing behavior experiences. So I think that the Boots and the Zalando, they are all very efficient to actually return or refund your requirements. So this is really a positive sign about how your business is doing. And then, however, we want to reduce handling costs, then we have to see how should you actually handle the returns. That's the most important part. So a company should take a proactive approach to the return management by making the end-to-end process not just a positive experience for your customers, but genuinely valuable to your business. So that's actually is a combination of happy customers and also efficient logistics process. In general, some changes you can think about. For example, you can offering in-store return options. So this in-store return could potentially reduce your logistics costs, but it depends on how this product will be furthermore handled. For example, I buy the product from H&M, and then I return the product. I can buy that online, but I return the product normally to the store in Aarhus, and I can see the store cannot actually sell this product in their store. They just gather all the returns and return the product. Still need to return the product to the distribution center, and the distribution center need to reprocess this product and then sell them again. So this is something I'm thinking the company can think about. Their product actually online sales and in-store sales, they do not share the same SKU number or the codes, so they cannot actually sell the product returned to the store. So this is just simplify or create customers convenience. And then we can also think using return management software to assist with exchanges. So this depends on if the company has a efficient global software to actually provide products through all the locations. And partnering with a third-party logistics experienced in reverse logistics. So this in general will reduce or smooth the return process. Hopefully this will also reduce the logistics cost. Here we use this chart to show the different possible activities during the reverse logistics. So when handle the returns, normally it start from a collection. So the customer send the product back to the central warehouse or distribution center or your store. Anyway, this product will be inspected in certain places, either in the store or in other locations. After inspection, the product can be actually sent to 3 different directions. First, you can see the product can be sent to reuse in other markets, remanufacture, recycling, or disposal. Of course, this means this product cannot be directly resell. And the second one, actually, you can see you can come to repackaging. That means you can directly send the product to the inventory, to the stock, and then you can resell them. So this actually is the main focus you can think about in the retailing industry. You can quickly send the product back to the sales channel. They will definitely create value or reduce cost for your product. We'll further talk about why this is more important by looking into the time value of returns later. And another option is you need to actually sort your products. And then electronic products, mobile phones, you need to be tested. And then after you sorting the product, you probably can also resell. Quick decision. If that's a more complicated product, you need to test. After you test, if it's good enough, you can also resell. Otherwise, you also need to send to other possibilities. However, after all these different inspection, sorting, or testing, the most important thing is you can recover the product value and resell that. That would be the ideal case. For the inventory managers or for logistics managers or for other some departments, some companies also have their product return managers. Then recommendations for these relevant jobs, we can think about treat returns as perishable assets, so not simply a waste stream. So this actually also related to what we discussed. Try to actually retain or recover the value of your product and be able to resell that again. And if you wait longer, this product actually quite likely become a waste. So when we talk about waste management, then that's actually kind of reduce the waste. And second, we're talking about elevate the priority of the returns process. And then to close the loop on the supply chain, establish high priority for the returns processes and make it a supply chain responsibility. So this actually, for most of the manufacturers, is actually quite commonly addressed. So reverse logistics is a very important part of the business. In the retailers, as the same. So it's important you can sell your product, you never stock out or whatsoever. But it's also important you need to efficiently handle the product returns, make happy customers at the same time, reduce the costs. Then that requires integration of forward supply chain and reverse supply chain. That's actually a very complicated topic. There are even some books to talk about reverse logistics for retailers. So if you are interested, you probably can search for materials about that. We do not have time actually go into more details. So it's related to where you should locate your online fulfillment center. How could you actually accept customers' return in this different kind of structures of your supply chain. Very interesting and sophisticated topic. And then we see next one, make time the essential performance metric. So because returns are perishable assets, so especially for the perishable or fashion products, so it's talking about a seasonal product. So percentage of asset value recovered is directly proportional to the speed of recovery and the disposition of the retained product. So that's very important. You allow customer to retain the products, but at the same time, you need to be able to efficiently reposition your product back to your forward supply chain and be able to sell them. And the next we see the use time value to design the right reverse supply chain. Although the costs of operating the returns process increase with the decentralization, this cost can easily be offset by the gains from the speedy recovery of the perishable assets. In other words, so it's not necessary you always return the product to the central warehouse and then reallocate this item to the stores. So the best way is to directly sell them and then save the time to keep the value of your products. The last one, we're talking about use technology to achieve speed at a lower cost. So technology built into the product made earlier, product differentiation or preponement and easy to carry out in the field, reduce the need for centralized evaluation. So this actually is a more advanced levels product return management issues is related to product design, including the product packaging and all the logistics design and so on. So it's actually beyond what we can talk in this level. Now let's see the consumer returns and the return policies. So that's after we're talking about the product, how to handle the product in the supply chain perspective or logistics perspective. Now we're talking about how should we understand the consumers or the return policies? This may be addressed in your consumer behavior course or other relevant courses. So here I just took this information from the literature released in the beginning of this lecture. So if you would like to know more, definitely browse that article. So let's see first understand the consumer returns. So the product returns, including the honest returns and the renters. So here the honest returners is basically distinguish the consumers. So if I bought a product that's too small or too large, then I need to return. So I'm an honest returner. If the clothes fit, I will keep it. And then there are also retainers. So what's the renters is more like if I buy this product, it's rather expensive, but if I buy it for one use, single use, then if I keep the condition of the product, I can still return that for the certain of value or even the full value. Those persons are considered as renters. We actually did not put the new type. We probably also put multiple buyers here. It's actually a real story from my colleague. He actually said he would like to buy shirts, but he doesn't know which size fit the best. Then he actually bought 4 different sizes, and he will just keep that one fits, and the rest will be returned. So he is actually also honest retainers, but this is one subset of special customers. This multiple buys normally can be actually predicted when the customer places the order. So you can actually estimate this returns in early stage. And then we have a return policy proposals. So here we mainly focus on the refund. So the return policy including many different terms. So here we only focus one of the term regarding refunds. So one is called the uniform refunds. So normally it's a full refunds or with a fixed proportion of restocking phase. So this refunds is just same for every customer. And you have targeted refunds. So you have a aimed customer segment or some other group of consumers. You have a special offer to these customers, and you can also offer the menu of refunds. So that's actually the customer pays different prices to the product, and then regarding the different prices they pay, they also actually choose different return policies. We mentioned the time value of the product returns actually very critical for the company, or that basically determines the performance of your business to some extent. So if you can handle the product returns with the speed, you actually potentially retain the value of your product and then reduce waste. So if the product has lost the value, it's just become the waste in the end. So that's very important to understand the time values of the product returns. Here in this article called Time Value of Commercial Product Returns in the Management Science Journal, actually quantifies how to evaluate the time values of products. Here we just borrow the figure 3 from this article to illustrate the time values. So here in this figure you see a closed loop supply chain model, and then you can see the product start to be produced or made in the factory, and then until you see the length. So in the article they actually have a detailed explanation about notations here. So I just briefly talk about the flows in this closed loop supply chain. However, in order to solve the problem analytically, the article has deliberately set some values, so that's not important for us. We just focus on the time value. So first, this lambdas in this chart, mainly the production rate or the product quantities through these flows. So let's see, the factory produces the product lambda plus 1 minus p times lambda r. So that's the factory's production quantity. And then given this is closed loop supply chain, at the same time there are also p times lambda r actually join the distribution center. In total, you can see the distribution center actually distributes lambda plus lambda r units of items to retailers, and the retailers sell actually all these products to consumers, and the consumers actually return the lambda r units of items back to the retailer or recycle center or whatsoever locations, and only lambda actually units really consumed. And this lambda r will be continuously sent back to evaluation, and then p times lambda r actually will be resold, and 1 minus p times lambda r actually will be sent to remanufacturing or sell to the secondary market. So this is for the HP or Bosch product. So you know then that's kind of electronics items. So it's very OEM type of supply chains. We just borrow this idea of closed loop supply chains. So through this supply chain, the article started is if the company can speed up the time. Here, one thing not shown is actually there are all kinds of time. So here, if they have time 1 and have time 2 and time 3, so this time are related to your time 4 product return. And this time, if you plus all this time together, they actually show how much value your product will actually remain. Even if you can send all this product back to the market, but not necessary you actually in the end can sell this returned product as you expected due to the delay of your reverse logistics. If you would like to know about the analysis, of course, I refer you to the article, but it's a very technical article. We have talked a lot about how to handle the product returns, understand the consumer returns. Here we can also see some practical hints on consumer returns. So returns can be said to be a necessary evil as they complicate the inventory control. It's important that companies monitor returns, investigate the return reasons, so it's a typo here, and get an idea of the return lag, so the delay. So avoid excess stock, avoid outdating of your product. So whatever we started about the product return, in the end we will focus on how to actually avoid excess stock or avoid obsolete of your products. So in the end we would like to actually reduce waste. Investigate how the lag or the delay can be shortened, especially for the long delays. So to separate the short and the long delay returns, track and chasing product returns and storage. So basically transparent the information sharing are very important. Principles to estimate product returns. We have a long list. So first, let's see, checking product return data alongside sales. So one can actually easily check your data to see if there are items, categories, or brands that are more problematic than others, and then work to lower those risks. So here the work should be work on the different items and categories of the brands. Furthermore, actually, you maybe look into your stock policies if you have done a right stock policy, or if your logistics process has issues, or initially if you actually have done some wrong purchasing. So instead of trying to forecast sales including returns, it's suggested to forecast returns separately. We have talked a lot about demand forecasting, but actually return is kind of the sales, so it is reverse sales. It should be also forecasted. However, to integrate the forecast including returns would make the task very complicated or challenge. Therefore, it's better to have a separate forecast for your returns. So with sales forecast, you want to maximize availability. You need to know what will be shipped and when, irrespective of whether it will be returned or not. Forecasting returns separately gives you a clear overview of the associated costs and requirements, such as logistics capacity, and therefore helps both operational and financial planning. So we use an example later to show how your forecast about returns will actually affect your stock policies or strategies. Continuously, let's see, the return forecasting could be calculated in two ways: as a separate independent time series or as a percentage of your sales. So monitoring the difference between the two would provide you with early indicators if the rate of returns is increasing too much. So basically this should be a dynamic observation. And then bring in returns budget can also act as an alert threshold and help inform decisions about what levels of returns are acceptable within the company's overall financial plans and business goals. I don't know if this should be included to the performance or the margin management tasks. Finally, to really take advantage of the return forecasts, one could use it to test different what-if scenarios. So if my sales keep increasing with a rate of X and the returns keep increasing with a rate of Y, what would that mean in terms of warehouse operations in total, end of season stock, markdown costs, and total margin? So I think this can be a good internship topic or research for individual companies. I'm not sure all the companies actually have a very clear knowledge about how this relations actually related. I probably add one more is how the wastes actually related to the return and the return policies or return handling efficiencies. Again, then now we come back to our main topic in this course. So we try to understand the product returns, understand the reverse logistics. Now the question is how the product returns actually affect your inventory control policy. So here we actually try to use a simulation approach to illustrate the impact. I would rather make another screencast in Excel to show you what I have done, and then you can continue to see the content regarding this slide in another screencast. So then that's the end of this video. So we move to another part.